What actually happens to your cat when you raise your voice around them? Most people assume it's a simple equation. The cat does something wrong, you get frustrated, you raise your voice, the cat learns not to do it again. That's not what happens, not even close. And the last thing on this list might be the reason your cat behaves the way it does around you right now, and you've never connected the two. Let's go through it from the beginning. 1. Their nervous system treats it as a physical threat. Your cat doesn't interpret the meaning behind your words. They don't parse tone the way humans do. What they register, immediately, involuntarily, is volume and unpredictability. When you raise your voice, your cat's amygdala fires. The amygdala is the part of the brain responsible for threat detection. It does not analyze, it reacts. And the reaction it triggers is the same one a cat's brain triggers when a predator appears. Fight, flight, or freeze. In a fraction of a second, your cat's body floods with adrenaline. Heart rate climbs, muscles tighten, pupils dilate. This is not behavioral, this is physiological. Your cat is not being dramatic. Their body is responding to what it has registered as a genuine threat in the environment. You may have seen what this looks like without realizing it. The sudden sprint out of the room, the freezing in place, the flattening of the body against the floor. These are not personality quirks, these are threat responses. Research from the University of Edinburgh found that domestic cats retain the neurological architecture of their wild ancestors almost entirely intact. Their threat response system is nearly identical to that of a small wild feline. It was not designed to distinguish between a predator and a frustrated person in the same room. It was designed to keep the animal alive. When you raise your voice, that system activates. Every single time, without exception. And unlike a human, who might quickly reframe a raised voice as situational, your cat has no such framework. The sound is the threat. You are the sound. 2. They don't connect your anger to their behavior. This is the part most people find hardest to accept. You got frustrated because the cat knocked something off the counter, or scratched the furniture, or woke you up at 3 a.m. The behavior was the trigger. So the cat must understand that connection. They don't. Cats live almost entirely in the present moment. Their short-term behavioral memory, the window in which they can connect an action to a consequence, is measured in seconds, not minutes. Not the length of time it takes you to register what happened. Seconds. By the time you've seen what they did, felt the frustration rise, and raised your voice, that window is already closed. A study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science confirmed that cats cannot form meaningful cause-effect associations between their behavior and a consequence that occurs more than a few seconds later. So what your cat experiences is not, "I did that, and now they're angry." What your cat experiences is, "The environment is suddenly loud and threatening, and I don't understand why." And here's what makes that particularly significant. Your cat depends on you entirely. For food, for safety, for the stability of everything around them. When the most important presence in their world becomes the source of something threatening, there is no logic they can apply to make sense of it. There is just the threat. That combination, complete dependence and unpredictable danger from the same source, is the foundation of chronic anxiety in domestic cats. 3. It changes how they experience the space they live in. A cat's home is not just a place it occupies, it is the entire world it exists in. Every corner, every surface, every room has been mapped, by scent, by memory, by association. When that space becomes unpredictably threatening, the cat can't isolate the threat to a single corner. The threat has no clear boundary. It lives in the home now. What follows is a documented behavioral shift that veterinary behaviorists call chronic environmental stress. The cat begins to experience the home, the entire home, as an unpredictable space. A space where safety cannot be assumed. The signs are easy to miss at first. Slightly more hiding than usual, a little less play. Food that doesn't quite get finished. Cats that used to move freely through every room begin restricting themselves to specific areas. They're not being moody. They are managing the only resource they have, their sense of safety. and most owners never see this happening. The changes are slow and gradual. The cat still eats, it still sleeps. But by the time the withdrawal is clearly visible, it has been building for months. And hey, if this is shifting the way you think about your cat, hit like and subscribe. This is the kind of information most cat owners never encounter, and understanding it genuinely changes how you share a home with them. 4. Some cats shut down, others escalate. The response to repeated voice raising splits into two patterns. Both are signs of the same underlying state. Some cats go quiet. They reduce their activity. They stop initiating contact. They stop coming to sit near you unless food is directly involved. Owners usually call this becoming more independent. It isn't. It is a learned withdrawal response. The cat has associated your presence with the possibility of unpredictable threat, and the strategy their nervous system has settled on is to minimize contact. Other cats seem to get more difficult, more reactive, more destructive, harder to handle. They hiss, they swipe, they resist being touched, and owners read this as defiance or bad temperament. It isn't that either. When a cat cannot flee and cannot freeze without danger, the nervous system moves to fight. The aggression is not about dominance or attitude. It is the body executing the only defense available. Both versions, the withdrawn cat and the reactive cat, are communicating the same thing. The environment doesn't feel safe, and the source of the unpredictability is you. 5. The damage compounds over time. This is the one I mentioned at the start, the one that might change how you read what you're already seeing in your cat. A single incident doesn't cause this. Cats are resilient. One raised voice, one difficult moment, that alone won't break the relationship. But repetition rewires things. Every time your cat's threat system fires, the neural pathway that drives it becomes slightly more sensitive. The threshold for activation drops. What once required a raised voice eventually only requires a raised tone, then a sharp movement, then just the pattern. The familiar sequence your cat has learned precedes the volume. Research on chronic stress in domestic cats has documented measurable physiological changes, reduced immune function, disrupted sleep patterns, and cortisol levels that don't return to baseline between stress events. The body stops fully recovering. The cat begins to exist in a low-grade threat state continuously, and the relationship changes, quietly, without a single dramatic moment. The cat that used to follow you room to room starts watching from a distance. The cat that used to sleep on your chest moves to the foot of the bed, then the floor, then somewhere else entirely. They haven't stopped caring. They've started protecting themselves. There is a difference between those two things, and the most important thing to understand about that difference is that it isn't permanent. Cats are not fixed in this way. Their stress responses can be recalibrated. An environment that becomes consistently calm, predictable, low pressure, safe, can rebuild the trust that was eroded. It takes longer to rebuild than it took to lose. It requires patience, and it starts with understanding what was actually happening inside your cat every single time the volume rose. Because now you know.